We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Albert Einstein.
This is Project Clarity. Project Clarity, in our definition, is a alternative media outlet. There's too many topics going on right now that are not...
They're not discussed enough. There's too many different stories, and there's so much news out there that just isn't being covered fairly by the mainstream media. This is ultimately what led us to create Project Clarity. So Project Clarity is a podcast. It is a forum. It is a place to discuss. And it is a place for us all to come together and share ideas.
It's an outlet for things that we feel we have bottled up and we need to share ideas, opinions,
stories, news,
and get conversation flowing.
Things that are relevant to people's lives. I can't stand fake news, but I also cannot stand news about celebrities and news that's not relevant to anybody. It's just news that's there to be watched, for revenue to be gained, for no knowledge to be given. We have ultimately decided that we wanted to create Project Clarity because we felt like there wasn't an alternative media outlet out there that was covering the stories that we felt like should be covered.
I feel like you turn on the news and you'll watch Fox News or CBS or MSNBC. You'll hear a story and you'll hear exactly what they want you to see. You're watching what was filtered out through their editors and then made air. So it has to go through a whole bunch of people. It's not just people saying things on their mind. It's not the real issue. They're just kind of morphing a story for reasons that concern their own company.
Like any company, there's levels to it.
They may leave out like a layer of truth, you know, like their story might only be half true. It's basically up for the public to decide what is true and what isn't. Project Clarity is a place my friend and I can come on and we can talk about issues and things that are on our mind, talk about those topics and to inspire and
discuss, inform. More than anything, we want Project Clarity to be a place where everybody feels like they can share their opinions, their takeaways. I don't believe that any belief is too far out there. As long as you have evidence to back it up, then it's arguable. We want to talk about the things that are impacting people at home, but we also want to talk about the stories that the mainstream isn't covering. You know, stories about, for instance, aliens. You know, you don't see mainstream media covering stories about aliens yet. In some alternative media, you see stories about people who've been abducted and have had things happen to them. But yet you don't hear about it on the mainstream media. You know, you have footage of the flying craft flying around released by the Pentagon. The mainstream media covers it for a few days and then acts like it never happened. I don't feel like you can have true journalistic integrity if you were to let a story like that go. And that's just one of many stories that I believe that aren't being covered fairly.
It's a different day and age we live in. Us as a general public is challenged with learning on our own. If we go our whole lives just being told what media wants us to hear, we're not going to really understand what's actually happening in the world that we live in.
Such as, where is all of the money from the Pentagon going? All of the trillions of dollars that has disappeared? Why have we not seen any news stories covering this? Another example would be the number of errors that the media reports on every year. In 2015, Fox News reported nearly up to 60% of their facts incorrectly. And that was in 2015. And now we are in 2019. And if what I understand about the media is correct, fake news is only getting worse. And according to Donald Trump, fake news is only getting worse. But my point is, I don't believe the numbers from big media corporations such as Fox or any of the other big media companies, any of their false information statistics. I don't think they're going to lower. I don't think they're going to change. And nobody's held accountable for the false information that's reported every single day and all of the misinformation and the information that's not covered.
Like a story I like, to people, Jesuits who work for the IRS, and their job is to make sure all these corporations paid their taxes correctly, and they investigated the Clinton Foundation and found out that the Clinton Foundation did not end up paying their taxes. They were a private corporation, and they were filed under the wrong name or whatever, so they were exempt from paying taxes. And everybody who donated to the Clinton Foundation now owes taxes to the United States government because this IRS is going in and attacking the Clinton Foundation for not paying their taxes.
I, for one, am very, very curious, especially when we're dealing with the topics such as what I previously mentioned with it is multi-trillions of dollars that is missing from the Pentagon's budget. How this should be very, very alarming to every single person that lives in this country, pays taxes, and suffers on a daily basis like all of us do. Somebody is profiting, somebody is gaining. These problems that are going on, you have, for example, you have the problem in Flint, Michigan, where, you have lead and all these unhealthy material in drinking water of American citizens. And this has been going on for years, and of course it's been covered, but at this point, it's a dead horse. People aren't interested. The mainstream isn't interested in this anymore because it's not getting views. It's not being covered. And I don't think that's fair. In fact, I think this story needs to be talked about until something happens. And the point of Project Clarity is for us all to come together, piece all the pieces together, come together as a community. No matter where you live, you can live across the world. If you follow what we are talking about and you want to educate yourself more, join the family. That's what we want Project Clarity to be. We want it to be a place where you can comment and ask us questions.
We want to make connections with y'all. Like, if y'all have something to say that we left out, leave it in the comment section. We'll get back to you. Like, we want to start a conversation. We want people involved. We want this to become bigger than it is.
Yeah, we want people to feel like they can express themselves. If you believe in something, for example, if you believe in flat earth, I'm not a flat earth believer, and you want to talk about it and discuss it, you should be able to do that reasonably in one of our forums or in our comment section. I know that YouTube isn't the most friendly place, and I know that discussions can get ugly pretty quickly, but we want to create a place where people can discuss and for us to discuss them. I try to think as critically as possible, and I know my friend does too. And again, that's why we created Project Clarity, because we don't feel like we're getting that critical information that is actually relevant to all of us.
Information we can actually use.
Information we can use. We don't care how many cars Ford sold. What does that do for us? Maybe if you're investing in the stock market, and that's information, you should be going out and looking out on your own. We want news that is relevant to the viewer, to the people at home. And we're tired of news that it was created solely for revenue.
Honestly, hate watching like the local news channels, because you'll watch it, the hour-long segment, they'll only be talking about relevant things for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and the rest of the time they're talking about
just fillers.
Like cell phones, or how many cars are not being sold this year that were sold last year, etc. Like, things that don't matter to anybody unless you actually needed that information. Like, you could go online and look up what cars are being sold.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not something that needs to be talked about on the local news station.
No.
But like,
and another thing, I hate to say this, but why is there a meteorologist on the news when you literally can go look at your weather app on your phone and you'll know immediately the temperature?
They're, in my opinion,
they're
wasting time.
They're stuck in the past. Yeah, they're stuck in the past, and they're just wasting time for revenue, and we see right through that. We've seen right through that, and I also see the cries of the people that are working in the industry and want to speak out and they want to talk about the stories, but they can't because their salary's on their line. They can't because, they have a family to feed. There could be any multitude of reasons, but at the end of the day, this is an ongoing problem. This is something that's happening every single day. There are stories that are not being discussed because somebody has a stake in something and they have the money to make sure that a story doesn't run. And these are things that happen every single day. People get paid off.
If somebody with power wants something covered up, they're just going to cover it up. It's not anything to them.
No, not at all. Everybody, would you agree? Tash, do you believe that everybody has a price?
Can you explain?
Everybody has a price. If I told you to go jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, something that is potentially a near-death experience, but I told you that you could have $1 billion if you survived, would you consider doing that?
I would have to look at all the options. If there was a low part in the bridge, or if there was like
exactly, but that's not the point. The point is that everybody has a price, and when it comes to a story being aired and somebody says, hey, I have stake in your company, or I have stock in your company, or hey, I can pay you this money, that happens behind the scenes. These people that are running these big media companies, they're human. They have human needs and they have human wants, and they're going to act and react just the same as majority of other people do in society, but they have more free reign and more money to do what they want.
It's important to put needs before wants. The human race needs to do this collectively. Like in my personal life, a lot of my wants are also things that I think I need. I'm in a situation where if I had a computer, I'd be able to work on a whole lot of creative projects, and I don't have a computer yet, so that's the issue, So
exactly,
you gotta find that healthy balance between things you want and things you need, because I look at that computer as an investment.
Exactly, this is an investment. By joining our project, there's no money involved. There's nothing like that. Just by being a part of our community, you are investing in yourself and the future of humanity. The most important thing that I want to really stress in this introduction to Project Clarity is that we need you guys to be involved. We need you guys to comment, message us, all of that. We will respond right away if we can. This needs to be a community discussion between small communities, states, nations. This needs to be a coming together discussion. And while I don't think that Project Clarity is the end goal to make the greatest discussion of all time, I think that it's a conversation starter, and it could be very eye-opening for a lot of people, because we're going to be discussing a lot of controversial information, and all of it's information that is factual, but it's controversial, and it's not mainstream media oriented, and some people might not like that. I just want everyone to understand that this is a place that you can share any idea, any belief that you want, as long as you're being respectful to others, and quite frankly, having factual evidence would be the most reliable way for people to take you seriously. If you have factual evidence to support a reason you believe something, there's not too much anybody can say against that. But that's just the overall thing that I think we really want to stress, is we just want you guys to be involved. We want this to be a group effort. We want to create the content for you guys and bring you guys the stories that we believe matter. And we just want you guys to do your part and be a part of our family and discuss this stuff with us.
Discuss amongst yourselves. Like, I feel like we're going to be bringing up topics that need to be discussed.
Yeah.
If you have something to say, it might spark an idea. Project Clarity is a tool to help, communicate and talk about things that are not being discussed.
The stories that we will be discussing are the stories that I talk about with my friends, the things that I think about when I'm alone, the stories that I can't share with my peer group because, quite frankly, none of them understand, And this is not to say that every story we discuss will be, completely controversial or completely out there. We're talking about information that's relevant.
Keeping a positive, happy vibe the whole time. And even though we might be discussing topics that are hard to hear and painful, we are only talking about them because we have an idea on how to make the situation lighter.
If you guys feel like there's something more to all of this, if you guys feel like you don't know who to trust anymore, if you feel like we do and you feel like the stories that are important to us aren't being talked about,
the issues you want resolved aren't being focused on,
then stick around, because we're here to talk about all of that. Come join the family. Peace out, guys.